All right, we're going to take a look now at how to use a histogram correctly and also how to pull back and gain some highlight detail in those instances when you may have some overexposed parts of your image. Okay, so this is a program that Apple has for photographers called Aperture. It's since discontinued, but I can show you some principles of this program, and I'm going to move over to Photos, which is built into every Macintosh, and I'll show you the exact same thing in a minute on a different program. The principles are the same. Now watch. Okay, so we've got a photograph here of a couple people, and we've got some parts of this photograph up here, for example, the sky, here on the forehead, the nose, here on her helmet. We've got some parts of this photograph that are just blown out. That's what photographers call it when you have, it's too white. The white is so white that it no longer can carry any detail at all. And there's a way to take a look at the histogram up here, which is your best friend, and notice the distribution of light and dark parts of the photograph. This is called the histogram, and the left-hand side is reserved for the darker kinds of things, and on the right-hand side is the brightness spot. Now look at the distribution of the pixels in this image. It's a relatively nice curve. The vast majority of visual data is in the middle where we can see it. And there's on its respective wavelengths, the greens and the blues and the reds and the purples, they're all kind of in the middle where they belong. Except for over here on the right-hand side. Look how all these pixels at the very, very back on the very, very right-hand side are stacked up like that. And we're going to find out that you can't carry any visual data in there. We need to pull that back a little bit. On this particular program, there's a function called Highlight Hot and Cold Areas. When I click on this, you'll see exactly what parts of the image are blown out. Watch. Oh, hang on. There they are. As soon as I turn this off and off, I'll toggle this so you can see it. There it is. That's how it would be. And that's the blown out parts. Everywhere that went immediately red is so far gone that there's no visual data. We've got to pull it back and see if we can't recapture some of the detail, especially in places like the sky. So you come over here, you look at your histogram, you see all these stacked up pixels, and you've got some sliders, and these are important sliders. One of the sliders could be exposure, but the exposure is going to affect the entire image, and that's not good. That's not really what we're after. What we would like to do instead is to pull back just those highlighted areas, and we can do that with this recovery tool just by sliding that over to the point where we get our detail back. You can take a look at the histogram up here while I do that. Watch how this thing moves as I slide this just a little bit. See that? That's what we're after. Okay? Let me show you this on a different image with some dark areas. All right, let me get out of here and come down to here, click on this one. There we go. Ah, I've got this toggled already. You can tell that's a sun. If I get out of there, you can see that that's a sun. Are we going to be able to recapture some of these pixels? No, we can't. That's the sun, and there's no detail there. We just can't get it. But look at the dark parts. Here we've got a horizon, and we've got a foreground, and we've got, taking a look at our histogram up here, the vast majority of these darker spots are over in the left-hand side, and they're not quite stacked, but they could be. And I'm going to slide this back and forth a little bit, and you can begin to see how dark it could get. We move this all the way over here, you can see what we're talking about. Wow, that's too dark. But as we go back, we are trying to put some light and some detail back in the foreground. So I'm going to make sure that my pixels up here, look at the left, I want to make sure that those are not too far over on the far left-hand side. And just take a look what looks good to me. Can't see that much. That's about right. Right there. That's how you do it with Aperture. Now, the same principles apply to the program that's built into all Macintoshes, which is called Photos. There. Here's an example. Now, this one's going to have quite a bit of, you can see both. Remember, our eye can see 17 f-stops of detail from the very, very dark to the very, very light. The best professional camera can perceive and differentiate about 7 f-stops. And so what that means is that our eyes and our brains can see detail where the camera just can't. And that's especially important when you're shooting into the sun like this, or you're shooting something white like at a ski area, or maybe a wedding dress. You're going to be very careful of trying to recapture and not blow out the details in a beautiful handmade wedding dress. And so you're going to have to maybe override your camera settings so it doesn't turn the wedding dress to gray. Cameras want to do that. But let's take a look at this here. We have over here, let's see if we get this image. That's how the program opens. And we're like, well, let's fix some of this. Well, you can. Up here, we've got some sliders. These are editing sliders. You click on that, and you get some automatic ones that are sometimes easy to just click on. But there's a lot more there. Click on Adjust, and you've got things you can go back and forth on. You've got all kinds of little cool control panels that are kind of hidden behind that Add button. Make sure your histogram one is checked so you can see what the heck is going on. All right, there we go. Look at the image. Can we recapture some of the bright sunlight here? No way. There's just not. They're stacked over here on the far right. There's just no detail we're going to do there. But we might be able to capture back some of the detail on the side of the face and the hat. It's maybe certainly in the foreground and then the middle ground with the light here on the water. We're going to come over here to Highlights, and I'm going to click and I'm going to pull this thing over, and you can see what it's doing on the histogram. You might be able to pull back some of that. It's just affecting the lighter part. It's not affecting the entire image, is it? It's just affecting the lighter parts. I'm going to pull those back to about there. How about the shadows? Whoops. There we go. Do I want some darker darks? Maybe I want to add a few darker darks. Maybe I'm going to push that histogram on the left-hand side over a little bit towards the left-hand edge to make sure the darks are actually dark. That's not a bad idea. So we've got the whites over here on the histogram are now back from the edge. The darks are right up to the edge, so we're going to have a good spectrum here of light and dark parts of the image. Now, shooting into the sun is always tricky. Look at the contrast. Because of just physical limitations in the lens and various other things, you've got some contrast problems. And I think you can slide some of these back and forth a little bit and see if we can't bump and get a little more contrast to the image. I'm going to make it a little more contrasty. That's good. I like that. There you go. So in two programs, Aperture and Photos, give you an idea of how to use a histogram, how to interpret a histogram, and how to pull that histogram back into, how to pull the pixels back into the usable spaces. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching.